you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to fit your life's work or your purpose or what you feel really called to do into a box that generates money. Hey friend, your girl's out here reporting live from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The phone keeps trying to situate, so hopefully it stays where it needs to stay, okay? I have been blessed to be on a wellness retreat with Whole Foods for the past like 4 or 5 days. We're here for another 2 days, and y'all, I am just so grateful. I feel like I'm living in an answered prayer right now. If you go back on my YouTube channel, you can see videos from when I was living in Camden. It was probably about like 2 years ago now. You can see videos where I'm talking about like surrender, or I'm talking about, you know, trusting the process, right? Like I was talking about these different topics as I was trying to process them. And I can tell you now with full confidence to be on the other side of that surrender, even as I'm sitting here watching the waves crash, it's just crazy to me. This video is for my friends, for the girls, for the guys who have struggled to find their way and have maybe struggled to figure out what you're going to do with your life, like who you're going to become, what's going to happen, will you ever be okay again, whether you may have gone through some life-changing situations, whether you're just in a space where you're at a crossroads where who you previously were and who you are now is not aligned, or you're trying to figure out how to show up as the most authentic version of yourself. One thing I can tell you is this: 2 years ago, I was stressing like nobody's business, okay? Like it was a good like 1.5 year long period of my life where I was just like mentally just like checked out. I just was so overwhelmed and confused about what was I going to do with my life. I wasn't happy. I felt like I picked a path for my life, and then life shifted and I didn't want to pursue that path anymore, and I couldn't figure out how to get off of that path. And I feel like a lot of us can get stuck in the pursuit of what we think we're supposed to do, or who you're supposed to be, or who society says you are. Or, you know, for those of us who have gone to college, like you get boxed into whatever you went to school for, and now you got to make that work because that was the dream, right? Like that was the plan. Go to school, get an education, get a job, the end, right? And so what happens when that doesn't really work out for you? What happens when you pursue something and then seasons change and you change? Like, how do you reconcile that? And I can honestly tell you, I have spent the last like 2 to 3 years of my life integrating this and trying to figure it out, and making mistakes and missteps and learning and trusting myself, and then not trusting myself, and then trusting myself again, and then an opportunity that presents like safety comes, and then I'm like survival mode is activated again, and trying to navigate like all of these questions, right? Like all these millions and trillions of questions. A lot of us intentional folks, you know, as I like to say, the young, black, and educated, societally, we are having more conversations around purpose and what that means and what that looks like. And so if you find yourself to be a person who falls more on the spectrum of wanting to live a quote unquote purpose-driven life as opposed to like a money-driven life, or if you're somebody who came from prioritizing money and hustle and now you're trying to find out what your purpose is, I think that's where a lot of us fall in, right? And I don't think there's like a magic right answer or like a one size fits all. I honestly don't think that it's any of that. But I think, you know, what life has taught me and what life is continuing to teach me is that purpose is personified day in and day out. Like, so long as you have air in your lungs and blood in your veins, you have purpose. Our purpose is not this thing that we have to find, and you got to uncover it and do all of this work and do all of this journaling, and you got to do all of this self-reflection and all these different things to get to the core of like, what is my purpose, right? Like, what is my purpose? And then how do I build a life that's only around my purpose? And how do I make sure that my job fits into my purpose? How do I make sure, like, we put way too much pressure. Something Debbie Brown had said that really stood out to me was that your life's work is supposed to take your whole life. And when I heard her say that, it was like a deep exhale, but the overthinking nature of my brain, the what's gonna happen, the survival mode, the anxiety ridden, like all of that is like, okay, but I'm not happy in my career. I don't feel fulfilled in the work that I'm doing. I want to do work that's more aligned, and I want to live a life that's more aligned, but I'm trying to find new career pathways. But this pursuit of these perceived career pathways, that's not necessarily bringing me joy either. I tried going back to what I thought I wanted to do 10 years ago, right? Before I went to college, before I did all of this. That really didn't serve me either. And what I have come to really understand and integrate through all of this is that, like, purpose is personified wherever you are. And we don't need to put so much pressure on ourselves to make every area of our lives line up with exactly who we think we are or we should be, right? Especially as young folks, I'm 27. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to fit your life's work or your purpose or what you feel really called to do into a box that generates money. I know that can be really hard to hear, especially if Kyber from 2 years ago was on the other side of this video, like watching this. I would be like, girl, like, okay, that's really cute, but what's going on? Like, I'm trying to live a more aligned life. What is it? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Right? It's not even about that. And I had knew this, and I had felt this calling in my spirit for a while, but I didn't know what to do with this information. I didn't know how to, like, where do you go from here, right? Especially because I put so much pressure on myself. I went to grad school. I went to school across the country, which was such a blessing. And there's a praise and a pride that we put on people who are the first of a family, the first of your race, the first of whoever to do such a thing, right? And getting the opportunity to go to graduate school at USC and travel across the country and do all these things, that was the big moment. And there was a lot of pressure put on me from myself and from people around me about who I was going to become, how successful I would be, what that was supposed to mean, right? The pressure that I put on myself to perform, to do it, to make it, it was heightened. It was like, girl, like, you got to make this work, all or nothing, right? And I wasn't happy. I can tell you about all the cool projects that I worked on, the states that I lived in, the places that I traveled to, the incredible work that I did, right? But I wasn't happy. What I've come to understand was it was less about the work that I was doing and more about the fact that I was placing my identity in the work that I was doing, right? Like, I was trying to attach my identity to anything and everything that I was a part of. And I couldn't even tell you why. Like, there's no thought process behind it. It just was. I think it was probably a survival mechanism. I think it was a learned behavior. We are reaching the phase of life where we're doing the things we could have only dreamed about, right? And so being the girl who went to USC, that was my identity, right? Like, being a girl who has big dreams and big ambitions, and she's going to be somebody, and she's going to travel the world and make so much money, and she's going to be the first millionaire in our family. Like, that was an identity that I took on, and I embodied it. And then when I realized I'm not happy, and other things, you know, different life experiences were exposing to me or creating a container, I guess you could say, for me to realize that, I thought, okay, this lane is not for me, so I need to go find my lane, and then I'm going to be happy. So I thought, okay, I'm really into well-being and living healthy and natural lives and blah, 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 blah. So I need to focus on like, how can I create a career in wellness? And I kind of knew like, okay, I don't want to do these things, but these are the things I'm interested in. And so then what I did was I tried to build a new career identity in a different path. And that didn't work either. And I'm like, confused because I'm hitting a wall and I'm recognizing that it's like something is not right. Like I thought that I was going to make this shift and everything was just going to flow so smooth, and it's just not. That's when I started to realize like, girl, okay, you're still stressed, you're still crying every day, you're still overwhelmed and feeling misaligned and lost. Like above all, I was lost. I was lost in the sauce, child. Like I was so lost. It was defeating because I'm thinking, okay, you leave this one path and then you go find your path and then life is just gonna be butterflies and rainbows. And girl, it wasn't. It wasn't. So now we're in 2023-ish, 2024-ish. I'm still like, I'm in the thick of it. Like, what is going on? I go back to exploring what I was interested in when I was in high school, thinking that maybe if I get back to the roots and the authenticity of who I was before I started following who the world told me I should be, that I would be happier. You haven't noticed by now, sis, the happiness wasn't there either. And by this point, I'm just like defeated, right? I'm defeated because I'm trying to make these changes. I'm watching these videos on YouTube of people talking about how to transform your life in 6 months, how to glow up, how to find your purpose, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, child, the gears is going. The gears is going. And I finally reached a place where I'm just like surrendered. Like I'm exhausted. I'm mentally outdone. I'm emotionally spent. Like I have nothing left to give. And I just was like, you know what, God, you can have it. You can have it. Like I need to get my hands off of this. I need to get my hands off of this. And I need to stop trying to make it work. Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen, okay? I had to stop trying to force myself to make something work and stop putting so much pressure that I have been carrying. I had to stop trying to carry the Superman, Superwoman cape and think that I had to be responsible to figure it all out. And I just got to keep like thinking about it and finding a way and making a way and forcing it and forcing it and forcing it. And I had to really learn how to lean into surrender and lean into flow. You may have thought that I was going to say, and then I discovered this, and that's how I had my aha moment of what I'm supposed to do with my life. But honestly, that's not how it played out. But for me, the way that it played out has been so much more beautiful, because let me tell you what happened when I surrendered. When you hear these different terms, I pray you can understand that these concepts like surrender are not like a one and done, like, okay, perfect, I'm surrendered, cool, next caller. It's not like that. It's really not like that. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I gotta tell you, friend, like I gotta keep it 100 with you. It's day in and day out. You're gonna surrender, and then some days you're gonna be like, ooh, I'm holding on really, really tight right now, right? Like I need to let go. And so now if we fast forward back to where we are now to bring this thing all full circle, I started working at Whole Foods part-time because I needed a part-time job. I knew I wanted to work somewhere that, you know, had healthy offerings and whatever. I knew at the very least that I didn't want to make a fully survival-based mode decision and just go get a little serving job and be a waitress like I was back in the day in college just to make money. I wanted to be able to, you know, gain more than just money from wherever I was going to be spending my time at. So I started working at Whole Foods part-time, still trying to navigate those pressures. But as I just surrendered into the present moment of wherever my life was calling me at that moment, I learned so much. And so much space opened up in my life for me to connect with myself, for me to connect with God, for me to connect with teachings and wise women who I admire on the internet and in real life, who were able to speak life into me and who were able to help me to be, you know, inspired and confident in myself and helping me to recognize that this concept of having one perceived destination and this concept of like everything in your life working to go towards this direction with no space for whatever God wants to do and whatever life is going to naturally do, it's detrimental. It's like, sis, you stressing yourself out, and it don't even need to be like that. So here I am a year and a half later, still working at Whole Foods, and I got the opportunity to be selected for a healthy living retreat where we are spending 6 days beachfront in Fort Lauderdale. I'm literally talking to y'all on my phone and looking out the window, watching the waves crash and watching people play with their boogie boards on the beach and in the sand as we speak. And I feel so grateful. Like, all expenses paid, flight, travel, hotel, unplugged for a week. When I was writing down what I wanted my life to look and feel like, and when I was thinking about this, knowing that I wanted to make this transition in this 2023-ish energy, right? Like, and I knew I wasn't happy, and I knew there were things that I wanted. One of the things I prayed for was that I'd be able to go on retreats. Like, I wanted to spend more time doing retreats than I was doing, trips to go clubbing, right? Like, I wanted to get to experience what it was like to go to a wellness oasis and be unplugged and be rejuvenated and meditate on the beach and stretch and walk and do whatever I want, eat the local food, right? Like, eat good, all the things. And that is exactly what I am doing right this moment. I am literally sitting in an answered prayer at this very moment. What I really hope to leave with y'all today through this video is just that you are exactly where you need to be, exactly as you are. And the more that you get to know yourself and understand what you like, what you don't like, what makes your heart sing, what you're afraid of, what you need to feel safe, what's important to you, what you value, the more that you get to know yourself, and the more that you surrender and allow the natural flow of life to exist instead of trying to force things, the better your life will be. In the window, literally in the window of me ending the contract with this client and getting ready to come to this trip, like right in this in-between space right here, I got a phone call about an opportunity that I'm really excited about, that gives me an opportunity to contribute, to mentor, to serve my community in the way that really lights me up and that I really feel called to and excited about. And I don't know what will come of it, but I'm not attached to it. You don't have to tether yourself to a destination or to a path or to a career. Should you come to a point in your life where the path that you're on is no longer working for you, you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to find your path, right? To find your thing. Allow that space of honesty with yourself. I've been listening to Matriarch by Miss Tina Knowles. Child, if you have not bought or listened to the Audible version of Matriarch by Miss Tina Knowles, child, what are you doing? Like, I need you to immediately get to your nearest Spotify or Audible and listen to this book. Hearing this woman narrate the stories of her life is so, like, I can't even, it is soul food. It is soul nourishing. It is like hearing words of wisdom, like a big hug from a wise woman who you admire, who has your best interest and who is sharing the things that she's learned in her life. And as I'm listening to this book and I'm listening to her recount the different moments and experiences in her life, what is immediately standing out to me is that you don't have to pick a lane. You don't have to pick a thing and do that forever. There was something so freeing about hearing her speak about these different experiences and trying to find her way and working at this job and finding this thing and trying this out, that really freed me. For myself and for my friends like me who put a lot of pressure on yourself, who feel like you should have been somewhere already, or who feel like you're not measuring up to the expectations that you put on yourself, friend, have some grace with yourself, okay? You owe it to yourself to keep it 1,003 with yourself about how you feel. It doesn't mean as soon as I feel this feeling that I need to go act on it and I need to go do something about it and now I need to go find my path, right? You see how this energy gets very anxious? That doesn't mean that you need to immediately go into action. It's just notice. When you feel these feelings come across, be honest with yourself and trust that you are your best friend. You are your best friend. And so as you go through this journey of figuring it out, especially like I said, for my 20-somethings and 30-somethings folks, like I hope and I pray that this corner of the internet can always serve as a safe space for you to become. A lot of people on the internet and a lot of self-help books and all of these other things are gonna make you think that like you have this realization and then you have the aha moment and then life changes forever. But I found in my journey that it's a lot of little moments. It's a lot of little uncoverings, little moments of awareness, those moments when things change, those moments when you take note of stuff. It's a lot of little things and they compound onto each other in such a beautiful way. If you are somebody who is out here pursuing the path of purpose or trying to find your way, you don't need to transform your life in 6 months. You don't need to do 13 things to have a more productive glow up, change your life overnight. Let's invite more peace and more patience into our life. Let's give a little bit more honor to the process. Especially us being the social media generation, we have really lost touch with the art of letting life unfold and being present for our lives and to see the unfolding happening in real time. There's something so sacred about what happens when we unplug and when we get out of that survival mode. And I'm speaking to everybody, but right at this moment, I'm really speaking to my girls, to my Black girls, to my girls that grew up with single moms or grew up having to make a way out of no way, and you know what it's like to have to survive and you just grew up in a survival mentality environment. A lot of times the world don't have no grace for us, okay? And I need us to really have this come to the safe space moment, because who else is having these conversations with us? In a world that is constantly telling us to speed up and go faster and do more and do this and do this and do this, in a world that is constantly telling us to go fast and to figure it out and to reach higher and to strive for more and to do this and to do this, it's like, where is the safe space for the Black girls to just chill? Where is the safe space for you to become in the in-between before you quote unquote know what it is you're going to do with your life, right? And so I know this was a long one. I didn't mean for it to be long, but hopefully it was informative and helpful. Give yourself grace to say, girl, it's okay if it takes you a few years. That's okay. It's okay if you don't figure it out overnight. You can breathe in the in-between. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to try and make a career path out of every hobby that you have or of every new discovery that you have about yourself. You don't have to lie to yourself about your happiness or your satisfaction with things that really don't bring you joy. You ain't gotta do that. Let's lean into the stories of women who have come before us to help us ground and get ourselves back at center gravity. That, baby girl, this is just one page in the book. Every page is a nugget that helps you fill out your story. And be patient with yourself. Girl, you got your whole life. Your whole life. I just pray that we can love on ourselves and be a little bit more honest with ourselves about what we need, about what brings us joy, about the fact that maybe I don't know is an answer, right? Don't put so much pressure on yourself, friend. Please. In the same way that I would want my best friend to give herself grace and be gentle with herself through the process, is the same way that I got to extend that grace to myself. And it's the same way that I'm asking you to extend that grace to yourself and others around you. And so I'm excited. I am here living my best life, watching the waves crash, feeling so blessed, excited. I can feel a transformation stirring inside of me. Like, I don't know what this next chapter of life has in store, but I know that it's going to be good. I love you all so much. I pray that hopefully this resonates with somebody. I'm so excited about know what this next chapter of life has in store. I don't know what it's going to be. It probably won't be anything like what I dreamed up in my head a few years ago when I had all the harsh expectations, but it's going to be exactly what I need. Sis, my good friend, you are exactly where you need to be. Your story is unfolding exactly as it should. I gotta go. I've talked your ears off enough. I love y'all so much. Thank you so much for tuning into The Safe Space with Kai. Don't forget to come find me on Substack so you can see the newsletters that we drop. They're always like yummy diary entries. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, YouTube, all the things. And until next time, I will see you guys later.